Market to Market is everywhere you are. Subscribe to Market on YouTube, find us on the PBS video app to stream on demand, and add our 3 podcasts on your favorite podcasting app.
Welcome into the Friday, June 10, 2022 Market Plus. Still with us again, Sue Martin, continuing. We held her over to the show. We said, Sue, you can't go anywhere.
I know it.
Got to keep talking. We ran out of time to talk cotton. You mentioned cotton. This weather story, sometimes it's too much rain. The Delta's been plenty wet. The heat, which one's, is it a weather market too? Is cotton weather right now?
I think it is. Texas, that state, is a good cotton producer, as is corn. And I think the heat that's coming into the Southwest is a big concern. And I think that's going to hurt the crop a little bit and cause conditions to soften or weaken. But another thing, exports, we've seen China in buying cotton this week, which was a big surprise as to how much they were in for. So I think that's a plus. And so right now, I think it's kind of a win-win for cotton. And I still don't know as if I believe those highs are in just yet on cotton.
And that's saying something, given where that chart is at.
Yes.
And we'll get final acreage here in a little bit. That's the next big shoe to drop, right, on
Yes,
these
it
reports?
is. Yes,
So,
that and quarterly stocks.
so we have some stuff coming, just kind of minor. I kind of just made you basically give 2 words on that USDA report. What did you see in it from Friday?
It basically showed globally especially, that our stocks were down on cotton. And so I thought that was pretty impressive, that they're down. And in the meantime, you've got China in buying. China needs everything. The one thing I will say is Chinese numbers are hard to digest because we don't really know if those are very true or not. They just kind of keep chugging along with the same numbers. And their work of being around the world, setting up grain deals everywhere and what have you, and coming to us for cotton, which is kind of interesting because of the fact that their factories are going to start to run. And so all of a sudden that demand might be bigger than we know.
You said digest. That makes it sound like we actually had numbers from them that we can chew on.
Yes.
All right. We're going to start our questions, a whole bunch of them. Thank you so much from all over here. Mike in Stillwater, Oklahoma leads us off via Twitter. He says, I hear reports that farmers are still holding grain. They have sufficient liquidity and don't want the income right now. Do we really know how much old crop, it doesn't really matter which crop is you can talk about, still in storage?
I think there is. When I talk around the Midwest, various states, it can be Nebraska, it can be South Dakota, Minnesota, it can be parts of Kansas, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa. Almost every farmer I talk to isn't out of grain yet. You know, they're still holding. And I think the end user and commercial thought when planting got done, farmers would start to let go, and they aren't. And I think the reason being is all the talk about the weather concerns. So I think they're going to hang on into July to see just how well that crop pollinates and reproduces. And then they might start thinking about unleashing and letting go. If there's a weather market, oh my goodness, the basis will go nuts. And
well, the basis did go this week already, right?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did, because they weren't getting anything bought, and ethanol plants are making money. And they see the price of gas, and they want to be able to process and blend as much as they can, so they're having to bid to get it, and they're not getting it very easy.
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem that long ago where ethanol wasn't making the money. Things change in a hurry.
Yes.
Bradley in Upland, Nebraska has a question, Sue, about weather. There is a debate on whether the U.S. is in a 3rd year of La Nina or an ENSO pattern, E-N-S-O. Which camp are you in?
I'm in the La Nina. I don't think it's a strong La Nina, but I think we're in a La Nina. This is something that is abnormal for 3 years, going into your 3rd year. Mainly, especially, I think 1954 was one. 1975, I believe, was one. It was either 75 or 76. I think it was 75. And 2000 was one. And so it doesn't happen often that you'll get these consecutively, but it does happen. And the weather sources we're using, and we use 4, but we have one that in particular that we really are watching. Actually, we've got a 5th one in. But I would have to say the concern is that we could see hot weather from starting this next week all the way through mid-July. Now, what'll be interesting is this was kind of a forecast from almost a year ago from this individual, and we're thinking that it could push, if we start getting into July and they start pushing that heat towards the end of July into August, then that's going to be a real heads up. Right now, they're talking maybe we start to cool at the latter part of July, and August turns cooler yet, and we go into September. And the way I read it, and that was the first forecast that he came out with this in this past week, I thought it was interesting because you could almost visualize an early frost.
Because when you mention late July, in my head, I'm thinking we might be done with pollination by late July, given
Yes.
this crop went in 1 to 3 weeks late.
That's right. And so then it becomes soybeans. But another thing we need to watch, this year, the difference is going to be a year ago, and I don't remember any other years like this quite the same, but a year ago what helped that crop come around was you had warm days, you were dry, but your nights were 70 degrees or under, which helped with the transfer of sugar into starch for the corn. And then you started off dewy in the mornings, which was perfect for soybeans. And I'm not sure I remember a year quite like that, so it was a perfect setup. This year doesn't seem to have that, and it's a little more testier year. So will the yields be the same as a year ago? I bet not.
Okay, so this next question kind of takes into effect what you're talking about, but I think it's playing out normal weather. Alan in Roseland, Nebraska has this one. Do you think grains will have a run to new highs here in the next couple of weeks to a month? And will there be a setback this fall before you run higher in 23?
I think there will be, but first, okay, let's take a look at what's happened here this past week. We came out of May, and on the last day of May, we made new contract highs for July soybeans, did not take out the May high contract, but we made new contract highs on the July, and then we closed lower for the month. We did so for the same week as well because May 31st was the start of that week for trade. Normally, that would portend the market trying to push back and take another look at the previous sessions, be it a month or the week's lows. Didn't happen. We turned around and beans took off and surged on the concerns of energies, pushing the soybean market and inability for processors to be able to buy soybeans from farmers. And so consequently, that set the market on a roll, and we went to higher highs for the year because previously our high for this year had been via the March contract on February 24th when Russia and Ukraine entered into their conflict. So we now have the highs for the year struck thus far in June. But the fact that we turned after having a lower close at the end of a month and the end of a week and took off and ran and made new highs for the year, that's impressive. But we also came within 10 3/4 cents of the all-time high, which is 10.94 3/4, or excuse me, 17.94 3/4. I think that high's coming out. Now, in the options, on the July futures of soybeans, we're seeing a lot of puts being bought every day. And justifiably, because the risk isn't that great if you turn and take out the all-time high. On corn, December corn, let's see here, today, on Friday, in front of that report, by midday, you had 24,000 $10 put or calls bought and 24,950 calls bought. That's pretty interesting that people are putting the money down. It shows concern. And so you've got heavy puts into the beans on the July contract, which expires here before very long. I suspect we're going to go after that put money and see if we can take it.
That is interesting. I think you're going to have, people are going to be hitting rewind to listen to that answer again. just to hear it again. So I don't think we can top grain. We need to do one last, we have like a couple questions here. Let's go to livestock. I wanted to get, let's see, this is Scott in Wisconsin. With packers' kill numbers high, feedlots current and carcass weights dropping, are cattle ready to take another step higher? We kind of glossed over this quickly in the show, sorry.
No, I don't think so. I think we need, I could visualize, I know there's a thought process that we've put a seasonal low in here, like on feeder cattle. I don't think so. I think that the August fats are going to, before it's all said and done, turn around and come back down and test the 128.70 to 128.50 area. Then we'll see what we're made of. Next year, I think the market's got, beef production down next year. I think demand's going to be huge for beef next year, and I think that's when you see your major prices. And the USDA has a report out there that shows all these reductions in what we're going to see for next year. So they're slanting a bullish view for next year, but not just yet this year. And we have plentiful supplies in storage, in cold storage. So I think that at the end of the day, now exports on beef have been very good. Pork, not so good. And then we're getting imports out of Canada like no other, which tells me that's not the kind of a bull feel.
Right. Doug in Thornton, Iowa is thankful for what you just answered, because he's been asking that the last couple of weeks. I just haven't been able to get it in, so he says thank you. Oh. Last question for you, Sue. James in Kremlin, Oklahoma. Has Sue Martin ever been bearish?
Actually, we probably have to search on the show in history to go back. I have been, but people don't tend to listen when I am.
So, okay.
But I do tend to be an optimist. I have to admit it.
Are you bearish anything right now?
No. I think our highs are not in yet on corn. I don't think our highs are in yet on beans or wheat. I'm a little bit apprehensive, of course, on hogs and cattle. But as we go into next year, I'll be a raging bull on the cattle market. And I'll still be bullish on, I think what we're going to do in the grains and soybeans is we're going to go into 23 as a bull.
Wow.
And if you catch a break, there's one more thing real quick.
Real quick.
On years of a two, and I've got data that goes back 11 of them, so 110 years, and I know there'll be people who will dispel that, but just go look on the USDA and you'll find the data. But on a year of a two, there are, I think, 3 of them at least, maybe 4, but at least 3, where highs, and many of them that tended to have highs in July, August, or early September. So we'll see. But I think our highs are coming, not in June, but I think going to be later.
Then, later. Okay. And we'll see you later on the next time you're on the show. Thank you again.
It.
Good
Thank
to see
you,
Sue. That's going to do it for us here in Market Plus. Next week on the TV show, we're going to talk about weather and climate. They're going to take center stage at Capitol Hill. We'll have a discussion. That'll be with Ted Seifert. He'll be back next week. Thank you for the switcheroo there, Sue. Appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Have a great week.